Hi, this is Ethan Tapper, the Chittenden County Forester, and I'm here in the Andrews Community Forest where our forest management project has just begun. So I'm going to try and provide these update videos pretty frequently to give you sort of a window into what's going on here in lieu of doing large public walks, which is what I'd really like to do, but which we can't right now. So as we start on this project, which will likely take us through this fall, this winter, and perhaps even fall of 2021, next fall, I want to frame how we think about this project by calling out a couple of common misconceptions about the way that forests work and the way that forest management is supposed to be done. So the first is that forests are supposed to be neat and tidy. Now, each one of us has a sense of aesthetics, stuff that looks good to us, stuff that looks bad to us. And for most of us, if we look into a forest, what we want to see for some reason is evenly spaced trees that are all about the same size, nothing growing in the forest understory. It's this sort of idyllic park-like vision of what a forest is supposed to look like. Now, if we look at how forests actually manage themselves and what old-growth forests look like, we find something that's really, really different. So we find many different sizes and ages of trees. We find in places a very dense understory comprised of many different species of trees. We find dead wood on the ground and dead standing trees and trees with holes in them and big large trees and pockets of large trees scattered throughout the forest. So maybe our idea about what we think intuitively a healthy forest looks like is actually grounded more in our human sense of aesthetics rather than in a sense of actual how forests work and what it takes for them to be healthy. All of those aspects of sort of messiness in the forest are also linked to broader ecological benefits. So the resilience of a forest to climate change and natural disturbances, wildlife habitat for a broad range of different wildlife species, all of these things are linked not to that neat and orderly forest, but actually to this forest that looks really messy to us. Now, as you look through this job at the Andrews Community Forest, one thing that you're going to see is a lot of treetops and branches on the ground. Now, this is not an accident. For a long time, people had put into contracts with loggers that they had to cut up all the brush and make it lie really flat. Now, this is purely for aesthetic reason, and there's actually no ecological or forest health reason for it. I now specifically put in my contracts that I want this brush cut up as little as possible, and there's a couple different reasons for that. One is that we want in many ways this forest management to resemble a natural disturbance, and so if you could think about what a natural disturbance it looks like, no one goes out and cuts up all the branches, and actually what we see is that dead wood on the ground and also treetops and branches provide all these really important ecological functions. The second reason is that we know that now we have an overabundance of deer in our landscape, and that when deer browse plants, they browse certain plants, they don't like to browse other plants, they can really influence the regeneration that we get. So they can make it so that it's really hard for us to grow certain species. Here at Andrews, that would include like red oak, which is something that we really want to try and grow. So by leaving these tops and branches here, we hope to more closely mimic a natural disturbance, and also to create these little shelter areas from deer browse where we can grow species like red oak and sugar maple, which might be more difficult to grow in areas where deer browse pressure is a little bit higher. The second thing that I really want to call out is that forests are dynamic. So we have this common misconception that forests are unchanging, that they're sort of just stay exactly as they are for long periods of time, which they can, but over the long term, the change in the forest, trees dying, pockets of trees dying, new regeneration occurring is actually this incredibly important feature of forests. And so as we proceed with this project over the next year at Andrews, I want us all to work really hard to sort of frame our idea of how forests are supposed to look and how we think forest management is supposed to look within these two ideas. That forests are supposed to be messy, and that change in the forest is actually really, really positive.